Alternative title, I learnt 40 songs in 3 days to save my cat. Here's the alternative thumbnail. This story takes place quite a while ago. I'd spent a few weeks putting my name out as a solo acoustic musician to the local bars and venues while steadily building my catalogue of covers. This was basically a fresh start for me, having always performed in bands and always with my electric in the past. I hadn't had many responses yet, as a venue can take anywhere from a week to a year to get in contact, so what happened next surprised me. I got a call from a pub who had originally told me they were fully booked for the next 10 months. Luckily for me, they'd unexpectedly had an act drop out and were now offering me a paid gig. Okay, fantastic. Whenabouts? Saturday. This Saturday. 3 days time. As I said, I hadn't expected responses that fast. But you know what they say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. They also say you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This is the story of how I nearly burnt out in pushing myself to put on the best gig I could with only 3 days practice. And, more importantly, what I learnt from it. Stick around and you might just learn something yourself as well. I already had another gig lined up for the upcoming Sunday. This Sunday gig was important to me as it was at my local and I was good friends with the proprietors of that particular venue. I wasn't, however, in any position to immediately turn down the chance for extra shows or indeed extra money, partly to fund my blossoming musical endeavours, but mostly because my cat had been very sick. Vet bills alone was several £100s. So began a nice little back and forth with Saturday Bar's manager to arrange this gig. I was initially in two minds about taking this one as I had played this venue before and had some bad experiences. Literally the worst experiences, in fact, which is documented in this video, so make sure you cue that one up after this one. On the other hand, the pub was under new management and a gig was a gig, so it was only fair to give them a second chance. The Sunday gig was a couple of sets, about 40 minutes apiece, nothing too strenuous. This works out to about 25 or so songs, most of which I already knew from my days of playing in various bands. This was all the material I had prepared. I asked Saturday Bar how long the slot was. They wanted 3 hours. That's 40 songs with banter and an intermission, at least. Now, this isn't an issue if you're performing with a band, because you can pull from a much broader list of songs than can be played by a solo singer/acoustic artist. Songs like Seven Nation Army or American Idiot take all of 5 minutes for the respective band members to learn the guitar, bass and drum lines, and 2 or 3 playthroughs to get them perfect. Crowds love these songs too, so that's always a massive reason to do them. Simples, everyone has a good time, but I was one man and I had 3 days. It wasn't like I could do a solo acoustic version that smells like Teen Spirit. Comment below if you want to hear me try though. I was a bit naughty. I gave them a figure that could have been considered a bit on the high side for one fresh-faced singer and his guitar, especially one without a PA system. However, it conveniently would have paid for the lion's share of my cat's vet bill. 12 or so hours had gone by and they hadn't replied, so I assumed that they'd ignore my attempts at low-key highballing them when I got an email from them. Okay, let's have a look here.
Yes, great, can't wait!
Okay, cool. Now, I'm not a man who will do things by halves. I had committed myself to this performance now, and by damn it, I was going to go through with it and put on a damn good show to boot. Nay, a terrific show. Nothing would stand in my way. The sky was the limit, and maybe not even that. I wasn't doing this for me. I wasn't doing this for Saturday Bar. I was doing it for my cat! Let this be a lesson to never undersell or undervalue yourself. I was somewhat naive in my early days as a solo musician. This situation was an education for me from a business point of view. If the pub was that eager to accept what I thought was a somewhat costly figure, I could have probably asked for more. Then my cat could get as ill as he wants, as often as he wants, and I wouldn't have to cut down on my own food to pay for his good health. Anyway, motivation now fully secured, I had to learn 3 hours of material in less than 3 days. Cue the montage! Ah, screw the montage. Watching someone practice 24 songs is not only boring but painful. Cue the game plan instead. Sorry, the game plan! Social life was a no-go from this point onwards. Video games? Forget about them. Food? I eat cereal bars, cooking takes too much time. Every spare hour was focused on learning and practicing these songs. I was rereading and reciting lyrics constantly at home, on my walks, in the toilet. I was playing guitar every chance I got. I found new songs that I could include in my setlist that were both possible for me to play and sing without overexerting my voice, allowing me to sing for nearly 3 hours solid and still be able to perform the next day. Did I mention I was working an unrelated 9-to-5 job at the same time? By Thursday evening, I played guitar so much I couldn't press down on the fretboard because my fingers were raw. This was an issue. I didn't mention previously, but my acoustic is actually a 12-string. For those who don't know, a normal acoustic guitar has 6 strings, a 12-string has, as the name suggests, double the number of strings. This means that for every note you want to play, you have to press down on 2 strings instead of the usual 1. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's a lot more difficult. There's a reason there aren't many bands who are known for using 12 strings regularly. Sounds great though, wonderful instrument. The fingertips issue did add several extra layers of difficulty and stress into learning these dozen songs in 3 days. This isn't the story of how I failed, because I didn't. This isn't even a story of how stressed I got or how much physical pain went into this ordeal. This is an education for anyone in the same or similar situation. Lesson 1. If you're offered a gig, be sure you have enough time to practice. There is no worse feeling than putting on a bad show due to lack of preparedness. Lesson 2. It is fine to turn down gigs. Turning away 1 or 2 gig opportunities does not blacklist you from all future gig opportunities. There will be more. Lesson 3. Always be motivated for your gigs. Find anything you can to motivate you, because if you go into it with a bad mindset, you'll likely put on a bad show, and that will be infinitely more detrimental to your reputation than just saying no at the start. See lesson 2. I took the fingertips pain as a sign of rest. I'd done so much practice over the course of 24 hours, it made sense to give what I tried to learn time to settle in my mind. As it turned out, this was exactly what I needed to do. I intentionally ignored everything to do with the gig from Thursday night until I picked up the guitar again late Friday evening. It was at this point that I realised I'd committed a lot more to both muscle and mental memory than I'd expected. Fingers still hurt though. I ran through a few of the newer songs and called it a night. The last thing I did before the show was print off the chords and lyrics to the songs I wasn't 100% confident in. I know, nothing's more rock and roll than a music stand plonked in front of the singer. I call it leaving nothing to chance. I arrived at Saturday Bar armed with my instrument, a music stand, a ream of paper containing my chord charts, and my parents. The manager greeted me and got me set up in the corner of the pub. I was having slight flashbacks. That terrible gig that I was talking about earlier, I was literally set up in the exact same position. But there was a new problem. It was so damn hot in there! Like, no joke, it had been 40 degrees during the day and it didn't feel like it had gotten any cooler simply because the sun had gone down. My fingertips were a slipping and a sliding all over the fretboard to the point I had to keep wiping my hands on my shirt to get some of the moisture off. So there's Muggins here, stood indoors in all black ripped jeans, button-up shirt and knock-off Doc Martens, sweating like a... Okay, I literally searched sweating like a blank jokes on Google and one of the answers was like a Brit during a heatwave. Never a truer word spoken. Now I'd learnt 40 songs and yes, most of them to a good standard to play purely from memory, but using the music stand was invaluable. It made life a lot less stressful and allowed me to focus on the performance itself instead of worrying if I'd sung the second verse first or played a B flat minor 7 flat 5 instead of a B flat minor 7 sharp 9. The small but essential details. I performed to an audience of 5 people that evening since everyone had decided it was too hot to come out to the pub. My parents went home about 10:30 as it was gone their bedtime, so the number went down to 3. But it was a good 3! I got chatting to them, I did a couple of other songs that I kind of knew but not fully, but that didn't matter because my small audience just enjoyed hearing a few riffs of their favourite songs. The stresses of the past few days melted away, as did I. I was not exaggerating when I said it was really, really hot in there. Don't forget though, I still had another gig to perform the next day. 3 hours I sang and played 12-string guitar in a boiling hot pub without a microphone. My voice was cracking something terrible by the end of it, despite my best efforts. My gig ended at midnight and my wife arrived with the car to take me home. As I left, the pub manager thanked me and paid me and said they'd be happy to have me again, hopefully with a bigger audience next time. Ha ha ha. I smiled and silently chuckled with them. My audience of 3 congratulated me on an excellent if underpopulated gig. I shook them by the hand and beamed at them. My wife asked how the gig went. I smiled and rested back in my seat, satisfied in a gig well done. I went home tired but proud. My cat would live to see another day. You may be wondering why I was being so rude and not talking to people. They were singing my praises and eager to engage with me, so why the silence? Well, it's because of a powerful triple S tier piece of advice for singers out there who want to keep their voices nice and strong. Vocalists, listen closely now. Listen, come here, listen. Shut the hell up! I had to preserve my voice for my next show in 13 hours. I did not utter a word until I got on stage the next day for fear of not allowing my voice the recovery time that it sorely needed. My wife says it was the best half day of our marriage. 1 PM Sunday rolled around and the performance at my friend's pub went brilliantly. I had a PA system and everything this time. My parents were at the show as well. As far as I can tell, they are my most dedicated fans, as they have been to almost every single public gig I have done as a musician. It was a good gig. Still offensively hot. Subscribe and hit that bell to catch a story time of how I performed a song where I didn't know any of the lyrics and didn't have a cheat sheet. So I quoted a popular comedy sketch instead. My cat was fine, by the way. Here he is.